So yes, I find all these things. I practice the religion of Shinto and Ninja Go Legos. Okay, with the I'm not sure what that character is, but the Japanese character for Jade and the character for Emperor, they are almost an identical character. There's like this little dot or dash that barely noticeable that makes one character distinguishable from the other one because Jade Stone is essentially considered divine. It's like it's called priceless because it's considered almost like sentient, charged with the spirit of the gods. It's the called the stone of the emperor. It is called the gemstone of the gods. Okay, and so he's wearing green. And I've seen the character for Jade, and it's very precious in Japan too. But these are some of the Japanese, the not so nice kami that can be tamed, used for good, but the ninjas have a bad reputation for using, sorcery, the energy from the wrong kami spirits, but even they are capable of doing good, and even good kami are capable of doing bad, okay? But it says right here, Ben, like the tribe of Benjamin, or Ben Kenobi from Star Wars, but Ben Ninja, okay? Like the ninja, like Mussolini, Benito, the ninja, because he hung upside down, that's the Oban festival in Japan, like the most important festival for serving and consoling the kami, the souls of the dead, who are, especially those who are suffering, are the ones who are considered hanging upside down. And his mistress chose to take the curse and punishment for his sins upon herself, which is exactly what St. Louis de Montfort said in the end times, the people that achieved the Jacob status. Oh wow, 814. That was the day that Japan surrendered. In some places in the world it was 815, but they call that VJ Day, Victory Over Japan Day. And so that's kind of odd. Ninja Go. And was that Go, that actually looks like a Q. And QAnon was the one who we were talking about the coming of the 17, because Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet. Anon means coming soon. And they talk about the coming of the dead Kennedys, and John Kennedy Jr. and JFK returning as messiahs. But I think it's a cult that is is extremely ridiculous and full of conspiracy theories that are just, and full of false predictions and stuff. But it didn't start off that way, and nobody actually knows who started that, who Q actually was, because the message from Q was just about how the evil and demonic activity in the American government, and then it developed into all this other stuff that so basically any religious movement, even something as ridiculous as the return of the dead Kennedys and all these conspiracy belonging to this Q cult that was also somewhat responsible for the siege on Capitol Hill. There's something that doesn't mean everything is not inspired by spirits, or that it's all bad either. Okay, I think in every religion there is a certain degree of truth, but there are spirits that do things that strongly go against my conscience that are considered perfect. Like, the Quran says the most common description of Allah is the most compassionate and the most merciful, and then it glorifies cutting off the hands and the feet of infidels and those who oppose the Prophet, having boiling water poured upon their flesh and upon their faces, and torture in this life and torture in the next. Well, you're saying he's the most compassionate and the most merciful, and then you're saying most atheists are more compassionate and merciful than him, because most atheists wouldn't do that to their worst enemy. I mean, they would put their dog to sleep and, put their enemy out of their misery and believe in the death penalty maybe, but not that eternity of torture and no chance of repenting because they have a difference in dogma, or they're trying to defend their city from defend their wife and children from these Islamic aggression and attackers, and defending what they cherish because, the Arab empires were the greatest superpowers, or sometimes the only superpowers on Earth, when they were cherishing the Queen of Heaven and some of those idols that Islam destroyed and outlawed, and spoke about how demonic they were. Well, things started. The Arab world is now something that the Muslims are even dying and drowning, trying to escape. So if the idolatry was so satanic, why are they running away from the places where idolatry is the most frowned upon, and is the most persecuted? There's the least amount of idolatry. They're fleeing to places that think idolatry is just fine, and they are fleeing to those places so desperately that they're drowning and they're dying and they're freezing, trying to get there so quickly. So it actually appears that the idolatry was very, very healthy, and I don't know what your definition of evil is, but certainly it, what makes it the most miserable places on earth, where like people have been shot for children shot in the streets for watching soccer after an Islamic regime tells them you should be saying your prayers, not watching soccer. Okay, 13 children gunned down for watching soccer for religious reasons. The people that are getting stoned to death because they're accused of adultery. The people getting gang raped and beaten because they're unveiled. The Arab world, back when the Queen of Heaven was there in Babylon, or in the Egyptian Empire, where the Eye of Ra were the women that were the politicians and fought the battles for the sun god. When those were female-dominant religions, where it was back when the Arab empires were the places where it was the most acceptable for a woman to be topless or naked in a house of prayer or anywhere, the Arabs were likely to genuflect before these naked women, these temple prostitutes, or they basically saw it as something very sacred, and that was the way it was. If you are naked without shame, that's a sign of how innocent you are, and that's a sign of Adam and Eve when they did not sin. They were naked. Okay, that's a sign of holiness. That's how holy people dress. And then when you start covering yourself, that's a sign that you have something to be ashamed of. You did something wrong. Okay, so I believe, and it might not be true, but I have visions in my imagination, and some of it, I admit, is probably delusion. Maybe most of it, I don't know, but it was Marlon Brando I was seeing, and he was Mohammed, and Princess Jasmine was his favorite daughter, Fatima, and he was choosing to be Marlon Brando because he said, I don't think anyone will get killed for making Marlon Brando cartoons. And he also said, I came to realize why. Marlon Brando's quote was, "I could have been a contender." And Israel means contender with God, okay? So he was saying, just because an angel was telling me a lot of things, and some of those things very true and from God, that doesn't mean I should have obeyed them, because Jacob heard things from God too, and he was a genuine prophet, and God really loved him, and God really blessed him for opposing God and favoring a woman that was more virtuous in so many ways and did what did not go against his conscience. And he chose to fight what seemed like a suicide kamikaze battle against God and against the superior of the household that had the ability to bless and curse not just him and all of his descendants to a terrible, terrible destruction, a cursed bloodline, and had the ability to kill him with a curse. I mean, this was like the Pope of that time. He was choosing to do to fight against impossible odds and listen to advice that didn't sound very good from his mother, but he knew that she was so much more virtuous, and he knew he was going to follow his conscience, even when it seems like it's a hopeless cause. But somebody won the battle for him, and it wasn't just Jacob did not kick God's ass. There's a lot of women in heaven that were helping him, and a lot of men like Jacob who were helping him as well, and a lot of angels probably helping him, maybe some devils helping him as well. God bless.